Here it is, everyone. Enjoy my amazing theme song. Thank you, Quentin Farrell.
Bonanza, Bonanza, we're hanging out. It's the Brendan Bonanza show. Bonanza, Bonanza, we're hanging out on the Brendan Bonanza show. Hanging out on the Brendan Bonanza show. Yeah.
Yeah, the amazing Quentin Farrell. Let me tell you, that song, people in the future are going to be like, wow, this song is amazing. They're already playing it in the future and they're worshiping everybody that's ever been on my show. But don't do that, people in the future. Don't worship us. We're just men and women. Just learn from our example. Anyway, I have a guest today, but I have a quote before we get into that because I have a feeling once we get going, we're not going to stop, and I'm excited about it. So today's quote is from Socrates. Socrates, wonder is the beginning of wisdom. Very simple, very, very, very simple. And I wanted to keep it simple today because I feel like the truth is simple. And what I just want to say quickly about the quote before I bring my guest in is that, we're probably going to be talking about this, but I know my first introduction to whatever you would say truth and all this stuff in conspiracy or whatever, I went down some rabbit holes and went crazy, but it wasn't out of a place of wonder. It was out of a place of fear and worrying and, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? I'm going to die and all this stuff. And so I feel like if you use wonder and excitement as your guide, then that's really it's like a tool from God, right? It's like a divining stick, like where they look for water, but from God, and use your own excitement and wonder. Because if God created you and you're a perfect creation, then, why not? Anyway, today we're hanging out with my friend Dustin. And what's up, Dustin? How's it going?
Brandon, what's up? Good to have me on. Good to be back. It's been a while.
Yeah, almost 2 years, I think, since we've
Crazy.
Yeah, it goes by so fast. It was yesterday. Don't listen to the time is fake, right?
It was only a moment ago. You ever see that
was.
Beggar Vance? Classic. Although I wish it was somebody else acting than Will Smith, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, doing good.
You know
man.
what it is though? These vapid people they're such good actors, because they have no. Anyway, they're great
Dude,
people.
did you hear
God bless
about
them.
God? Yeah, did you hear about? This can segue into some stuff, but did you hear about Bruce Willis?
Oh
How
no,
bad his amnesia is?
no.
Kind of sad. It's kind of sad, and we could branch off this other stuff, but I guess he has really bad amnesia that he can't even remember that he was a famous actor before. And I was talking to my wife about it, and I'm like, that's what a nostalgic. We're talking about nostalgia before the show.
Yeah.
What a nostalgic gut punch that is. And the first grade truther, I could see him just saying, "Oh, he's an actor. He's just acting to mock us and make us feel bad as a culture that he." But I'm like, the graduate level truther would be like, he probably does have that, and it's sad. And the only buddy that could make him mock on that level is the King Gamma himself, the devil, in my opinion. Like that is a nostalgic gut punch. Like I when I seen the post, I forget whether it was on Instagram or YouTube, whatever, shorts, and his family was around him, and you're like, damn, dude, like Mr. Yippee Ki himself can't even remember that line. That was like a gut punch, man. Yeah, dude. Like, talk about hitting you on a nostalgic level. I felt bad about that. But then you get these, like we were talking about, the first grade level truthers that everything is the Masons and the Illuminati. I could quickly see him saying they're all actors. It's an actor on the world stage. It's like, I get that.
He's a robot.
Yeah, we're a little bit downstream from that at this point,
I might be a robot. I don't know. I haven't cut myself to see if there's wires in there. I have been cut. I didn't see wires, but yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I feel like I have this bit I'm working on where I realized in my whole life, like, because I'd want to do jokes about conspiracy stuff, but I want to reach the whole audience. I don't want to leave anybody out. I want to try to spread joy and make everyone laugh. So what I was thinking was, and I think I even wrote this in a letter to Owen and he read it. And I was like, I found in my life that the journey of truth is really one from A to Z. And a lot of people get stuck on the J's, like.
True. That's the next level.
You got to keep going.
You got to keep going. There's more. What we were just saying before we went live, dude. Who is even they? The government, the Jays, the other Jays, the Jesuits. Exactly. Hold the mirror up to yourself before you say they. I would caution as a I get we truther who's been around the block for a while. Like I just and I brought my receipts. We were talking about this too. I read this book, Behold the Pale Horse, Bill Cooper, and we could speak on how did these guys even know that information pre-internet. But I was a nutbag, and I like in your quote, it's kind of perfect because I didn't have the wisdom when I read this in 2000. And I was saying it's all the Illuminati. And so much so, again, printing out papers in my high school library. God bless Miss Hanny. I know she found a couple of them, if she's even still alive. But I print them out, getting so deep into the even like the esoteric occult stuff, you know. And that's when my dad was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, you know, son." And he confiscated my papers from me, you know. And my buddy's making fun of me for it. Oh, it's all the Illuminati dust. But I'm glad I got that hip check because you could go down a slippery slope if you don't get, you know, the whole notion of you look into the abyss long enough, it looks back. I didn't have the wisdom back then. I had the data. I hadn't synthesized it yet. Excuse me. And it's funny to see the normie waking up to it all now, full circle, like because they're going through that same process, and we're seeing it in real time, dude. And how did these guys know black helicopters pre internet? That fascinates. Like I know that they were well researched. I'm not taking away from anything on book studies, but you got the dudes like Cooper who wrote that, Jim Mars, Jordan Maxwell, and they did have video cassettes out, but it was like black helicopters, FEMA camps back in '95. How did they?
Yeah.
How did these guys? Were like? I'm not sure if you're familiar with Russian vids. RV Truth does a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah, yeah.
he does a lot of breakdown. He says that some of these guys were plants. Like he believes Bill Cooper was a plant, you know, when he got taken out on the world stage, you know, the way he did quite violently. But he says that. And I don't know if I believe that because I don't believe everything RB Truth says, but I did learn a lot from him and a lot of breaking down truth drops and movies and shit. I love his videos, but I don't agree. He's a vegan, number one. And I'm just joking there because I respect everybody and their opinions on stuff, but I don't agree with all his takes. And I had
Yeah, I hear
that
you.
was
It also could be where I feel like the best way to get somebody, you got to find a true believer and then just feed them information. And if you really study with the CIA, God bless you guys, wherever you're doing. And that's how I look at it, really, honestly, because okay, so we even back up a little more and we'll
it's
get some
hilarious.
Brandon Bonanzaville, because honestly, at the end of the day, and this is a joke on other shows I've had, in my shows, when I say at the end of the day, people could take a drink or whatever, because I used to say it all the time. But really, what it is, though, is the evil, the stuff that we point to as evil. I feel like on a physical level, it's evil, and we want to keep it away from us and distance and separate it. But like on a spiritual level, there's something going on in this realm where the evil is kind of needed to give us this resistance to overcome and grow, so we don't just sit here all day and get fat and lazy. Because I feel like we're here to work on ourselves and make ourselves better people. And I could be wrong. Again, this is maybe I'm wrong, but it falls in line with a lot of different, especially Christianity, just the message of Christ. I feel like if you live that, and I've kind of been living it in my life, and I've noticed the benefits, and I've start to see these people who are like, you could look at them as evil, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Despite what this guy's doing, even like, Gil Bates, right? That guy. Despite all the stuff he's doing, he could be trying as hard as he can to serve the Dark Underlord. But at the end of the day, he's still doing God's will. It's all in the Silmarillion. Like Tolkien
Thank you.
nailed it,
Great.
right? Like Melkor was sowing and singing discord even in the beginning when this universe was sang into existence. I love that.
Yes.
And he was like, yeah, it's good. And then he ended it. And then at the end, he's the guy who was supposed to Iluvatar in the Silmarillion. He kind of represents God. He stands up and just stops it all. Like, and so it's part of God's plan. And again, that doesn't mean you go get some crosses and start burning them and like, get tattoos and be like, yeah, Satan or whatever. It just means that you don't have to feel like a victim now because of all the evil that's going on in the world. You could say to yourself, maybe God has a plan that I don't understand. Doesn't God work in mysterious ways, everyone? So I feel like I'd lean on that a lot, but then I could look at it and say, oh, isn't that interesting? And isn't it funny? And then there's comedy there. And then for me, comedy is a way to wake people up to truth and to also dispel that darkness. Because if someone's laughing, they don't feel bad. And they're starting to be like, well, maybe this guy's a point. So, but yeah, that's just my view on this. And I know you have like a similar view. That's why I love you, because you're a Christian. And on my show, I talk about all different like belief systems. And some people hammer Christians and I don't. I love them. I'm like, listen, guys, it doesn't matter. People like to get into occult studies and all this stuff. I'm like, that's just for people maybe who had trauma or are nerds or whatever, you know? Because again, that stuff is misused a lot. That's a whole other thing. But unless you're looking into that stuff for exploration and looking for truth and you're not a victim, if you're into that stuff, you're going to go down some deep, dark paths probably if you're, you know. But anyway, so I always say, you know, there's a lot of Christians out there. There could be just a Catholic lady who's just being great, living according to Christ every day. Why do I have to go wake her up and say, no, 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 the what if this and that? No, no, no. That's not my job, you know? So I feel like we can all, not maybe we can't all get together, but a lot of people who are mature enough, especially on the inside, can have adult conversations and talk about stuff like that and not be like, how dare you, you know? So that's why I love having you on.
Appreciate that. And I agree, man. I think that number one, I think that God abides the darkness because it gives us the ability to choose away from it, right? And that choice, right? You have to. I think that choice is must be there so individuals can grow spiritually, or however you want to put it, towards God, towards Source. And with that, yeah, I am Christian in that I was saved by Christ. I have given my life to Christ, try to emulate Him as a Christian. But some other dogmatic Christians might think of some of the stuff that I do and research is, like we said before, blasphemous. So then, am I even really that? I don't want to be combative.
Yeah.
That portion of them certainly do, though, and say they would go so far as to say all Islam is going to burn. I'm not like that at all. Even my God bless my grandmother, Grandma Lorraine, she would say that too. She would say, do you really?" She was hardcore Catholic. I was raised Catholic. I'm more Christian now, but I
Me too.
respect it.
Yeah.
Right. And I still say my Catholic prayers, man. My daughter knows the grace and our Father. I consider myself more Christian now, direct, communion with God, but I respect that as well. Some of the stuff I research, though, man, I like to know my adversary, if you will. So I do research some of the esoteric and the occult. I guess you could put it like I want to know the characteristics of what I might be up against in the spiritual realm. Literally, that's what I boil it down to. I study angelology too, so it's both, and I derive knowledge and wisdom from that. I still have my faith fervently, but I have the heritage of my great grandfather was born in Oslo, Norway. My dad's 50% Norwegian. He did the blood test before. He did myheritage.com.
Oh,
I
nice.
think that's saliva. I'm not 100% sure, but he did it before I got to him and said, I want to do that,
Yeah.
Dad. You're going to get your DNA. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, he pinged. So I have the Viking hair or even Norse heritage also, and that could be why I have my exploration
Ale.
gene. Yes, skull.
Yeah.
I got the Berserker ring on right there.
Oh, nice.
And dude, honestly,
Amazing.
you want to see a synchronicity, man? My uncle Eric, dude, God bless him. It looks like my uncle Eric, man. You can see the beast.
Oh, yeah.
He's got the and it. When I first got the ring, I'm staring at it. And I'm like, dude, that's Uncle Eric.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I study that all of it, even mythos and mythology back to ancient Mesopotamia on through Viking Age and all that. And I'm not saying I sit here and believe in Odin. I think he's an archetype of nature over time, but maybe there was a real man that was attributed to him. That's how civilizations work, and the Ouroboros of our civilization falling on our face over and over and over again, right?
Yeah.
So some Christians that are, I don't know, born again, and I'm not trying to segregate or whatever. I'm faithful. Okay. Dude, there's a great video. You might have even seen it about, it was in a Muslim mosque. And this is where it strikes me like real recognizes real. Am I going to condemn these people? They're in a mosque and they're all praying, right? And then an earthquake starts happening and shit starts falling down. Excuse my language. Half of them get up, run out. Half of them sit down, stay there, and keep praying. It's like I get chills. How strong is your faith?
Yeah.
Okay, I recognize that
Exactly.
in them. So am I going to condemn them? No, that's not what I am. Say what you will about me or my form of Christianity, but I know where I am at with my faith. So
Yeah,
I
that's so
appreciate that.
powerful. They're saying, where else
So
would I rather
powerful.
die than a house of God? If he wants me to come, I'm going home to him, baby.
And dude, it struck a chord in me, and I got chills now even explaining it
I
because
got it
that you
too.
look up to that. You know what I mean? And that's Muslim. They believe in their God. We're just seeing the same God, in my opinion, from a different angle, right? That's my take.
Yeah, yeah. There's I think it's based on sections of the realm and how they've gotten people they
Sure.
how people have allowed themselves to be controlled by a small group of people. And what I mean by a small group of people is just like whoever's in charge of their government in that area. And before, I think it was religions. It used to be both. Like, look at the Egyptians, right? You had Pharaoh, who was like God's appointed person to rule you. So he's your president, emperor, or also he's your pope all in one, right? So and I think because different people, in the desert, man, it's a tough life. Look at Dune. That's why I love Dune. I am obsessed with the Dune novels, especially the Frank Herbert ones. Anyway, I won't get into it too much, but you see that, and that's kind of what he was going for with the Fremen because they're so tough. They grew up and they have this belief and this faith, and they're just like so matter of fact about nature. When someone dies, they're sad, but they're like, hey, we all die. And so I feel like. I think I'm getting lost on that point, but anyway, I feel like
I'm
it is
with you.
it is
I'm
kind of
with you,
all the
bro.
same message.
Yeah.
But that desert, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, so that desert thing, it's stricter. And to us, all the propaganda, especially by the Russians, think about that. I was watching what's the movie with Woody Harrelson is in it, and he's playing. It's weird. He's playing this little it's about the train in Siberia.
Oh, Snowpiercer.
Yeah,
I never seen it. My buddy keeps on telling me I should. I got to write that one down for me and wifey to watch because I've
yeah, we
been
just
getting.
watched that.
I've been told it's like I've heard it's also a reset. In the alternative history, it's a reset movie. Truth drop there. Truth drops
Oh, I'm
galore.
sure it probably is. Oh
There's
yeah.
got to be some truth drops in it. I've heard
And you know
a
what's
lot about
crazy?
it. A lot
They
about it.
talk
Woody
about the
Harrelson is in it.
Gulag. Who else?
Ben Kingsley.
Yeah, Ben Kingsley, yeah.
Is it Jason? Isn't Jason Statham in it also?
No, it looks like Jason Statham though, but I think it was right before his time. Or maybe it was him and you just didn't know it was him?
That's are
There
you
was a
saying
guy that
before?
looked
Are you
Jason
saying
Statham wasn't in Snowpiercer, right? No,
before
my
Snatch?
wife would know that. It looked like him though, right? It was like a guy.
Kind of embarrassed with it. I consider myself a
It's okay.
cinephile.
Listen, yeah,
I didn't see that one though.
it's like the ultimate knowledge is to know you know nothing, right? So
True that.
just
Exactly.
don't get attached to it. Anyway, that's what I've heard. It seems to work out, but yeah, I think taking everything what we said, the Russian people. That's what I was going to say. Basically, it's just like we've been taught to hate them. I watched Red Dawn since I could remember the original one. I'm like, I hate the Russians, but when you talk to a Russian person, we probably have more in common with the Russian people than we do. So it's so crazy. Oh yeah, here it is. It's Trans-Siberian. I'm sorry, not Snowpiercer.
Oh, okay. Okay. Transcend.
Trans-Siberian. Yes, Ben Kingsley, Woody Harrelson,
I haven't
Kate
seen that
Mara,
one.
Emily Merrimore. Yeah. Oh,
I've
Tom.
heard of it, but haven't seen it. So that's two that I got to throw on the list. Wow.
Very, very interesting movie, and I won't say any more than that because I don't like to give anything away. So I'll just say that Woody Harrelson isn't playing a typical role. Usually he's like a BA, he's like beating people up, but he plays like a nice Christian husband. But like it's interesting to see him because
Interesting.
usually he freaks out waiting for him to like freak out and take out a knife.
Right. Yeah. Woody's a good actor.
Yeah, he's
Harrelson.
he's a good actor, definitely.
He's from the old guard. They're going away.
Yeah.
Dude, how about the whole trope, man? I was telling my wife the other day, but this is truth or verse shit, but with the passing of Hulk, rest in peace, Hulk, Ozzy. It's almost like what's going on with Bruce Willis and him having that horrible amnesia. It's almost like the age of. Are you getting a sense of like the age of celebrity is waning? And I'm not
Yeah.
sure if it has to do with the whole like
That's a great take.
burn Hollywood thing and what goes on in Hollywood, the dark side of
Oh.
it. But it almost I've gotten a sense of that recently of like the age of celebrity. It seems to be
I think Hollywood itself, because the entertainment, like we were saying a little bit before the show, is going to streaming services, and now anybody can have a
AI.
show that
Yeah,
has a phone. You know what I'm saying? Because really, it was about getting people's attention, right? We could talk about radio, then to TV, then to the internet, trying to get people's attention, whatever. And they basically allow anything unless you're talking to them directly about like what exactly is going on. But they'll allow it, and you could. You could look at feet all day, or whatever it is on the internet you want to do.
take your pick.
And, so I feel like maybe you're right. They'll destroy Hollywood and they'll say how bad it was to use it as another scapegoat. This is another reason why I love Dune, because in the later books, the Bene Gesserit, it's focused on them, and they're talking about democracy, and they're like, yeah, we know about democracy, but the problem is every couple of years you need a scapegoat and you need a hero, and then this guy gets burned, and they're just, I'm like, Frank, are you speaking to my soul? So I feel like maybe Hollywood is going to be the next scapegoat, and then probably music, but it's not anything
Oh,
that's bad. It's good news for us, for independent creators, because then the space opens up and there might be that vacuum for a little while till they get the control again, or
right.
whoever until it gets regulated by the
Yep.
government, like the internet. Remember the good old days of the internet? You could do whatever you wanted,
Wow. It's
so
not, yeah, it's like the Wild West. But yeah, even the whole AI notion where anybody can make a movie now, it's like it's that capacity, right? Even your average Joe can make a movie. But I agree with you. It's going to create a vacuum. And hey, that's just a regular process of things. I'm not sitting here. I mean, I wouldn't mind if the bad, seedy side of Hollywood went by the wayside. I think we all know what's going on here without mentioning certain things about real seedy stuff behind the scenes, behind the red carpet, behind the velvet rope. If you can make a dent in that, and I think that we've seen that it's very tough, even what's going on with Easteen and Diddy lately. I mean, damn, it's just the whole apparatus seems to be on the take or blackmailed or whatever. How do you even, dude? It harkens me back to the days of Q because I was a Q tired first of all. We're gonna get these guys white hats, and that's when I got head over heels for Trump. At first, I wasn't, but then you're like, damn, this is way more entrenched than I ever even thought it was. Even back when I read Behold the Pale Horse, like this scope is massive. It's on a world scale. These globalists, you can call them globalists, I guess, you know, in a real general sense. But you know, shit, biblically, I could even call them Canaanites. I think that they're I call them neo Canes. I want to get that out
yeah,
there. They're neo
New
Canaanites,
Canes.
man. I mean, they're literally, they're still offering up to Moloch, and
Yeah, I love it.
the machine itself has become Moloch too. But even, God bless you to mention things like Planned Parenthood, man. We're still doing it, and that's why I mentioned. I'm not sure if we were doing it. We talked about this before we started, but we keep on civilizationally. We're very mechanized and tech advanced now, but we still keep falling back on our face. And this goes all the way back to ancient Mesopotamia, the so-called great civilizations of Mesopotamia. How great were they when they were city-state fighting and doing the same thing? Immigration, angst. It's literally almost the same playbook they're trying now, but it's on the global scale. Where else do you go? And I'm waxing poetical here and getting a little bit out there, but
No, it's
that's
cool.
how I see it as a student of history. That's where the Ouroboros comes in, man, where the dragon biting its tail or it's Jormungandr around Midgard biting its tail. That's telling us that we keep on falling back on our face, in my opinion, civilizationally. So I'm not sure where I was going with that, but
Actually, I had something to say though, because you say about P. Diddy, I wanted to let you finish, but I realized
wow,
something recently. I was listening to a rap song. Listen, guys, it was always all there. It was always all there. Biggie says, I forgot the line, but he's like, I like to whatever, and he's like Bailey, he's like P. Diddy, he's like Diddy likes the Baileys on the rocks, like he talks about Biggie says what he likes. I forgot what it is, like private stock or whatever. And then he's like, and Diddy likes the Baileys on the rocks. And I paused this song and I'm like, all right, guys,
fruity.
every black person I know usually, again, I'm gonna generalize, they love cognac, right? When they're partying and listening to rap. If they're drinking Baileys on the fucking rocks, it should be a symbol to you, a signal to you that
Sign.
something's probably wrong.
That's
And then
hilarious.
the guys of Babylon trying to front like they down with Mount Zion. What is that? The tribe of Babylon or whatever they say, the tribe of Babylon trying to front like they down with Mount Zion. That's all you got to hear to know. I mean, if you decode that, that's like, because Mount Zion is, where the A, B, C, D of it, the J, and then Babylon isn't them. And then are they trying to be them? What are they saying in these rap lyrics?
Dude,
It's crazy, but yeah.
that's crazy. That and good catch on the Fuji's one too, and Biggie saying that about. It's almost like he was saying Biggie or P Diddy was fruity without saying he's
Yeah, he's a
fruity,
little
but he even did it
soft.
himself because he was always in the background like take that, take that, take that.
Yeah.
It's like what are you talking about, bro? No, I mean come on, man. Hindsight's 2020. Come on. I heard that he put a post up too. He made his first posts on Twitter or X, whatever, since his debacle. People are. It's just like I don't need. I'm interested as to see where it goes, but I don't need to know every horny detail.
Yeah.
As like being like downstream from it. We know what's going on. and it's
I'll say
crazy.
this.
It's
I
crazy.
feel like there's a shift split happening. People have been talking about it for a while, even Owen and anyone you can point to. And I think it's going on, and that's what we're seeing. And I feel like maybe this is just my path because I always feel everyone has their own path. But for me, I haven't been paying attention to it because like I see people and they're like, they like don't know what to do. They're like
For real.
literally
The
right, and
normies
they're like
just waking
just
up, dude.
they're deciding where to go. And I feel like those people are they're waking up, but they're getting caught like in this net or whatever. And really, I feel like it's all there. It's in the Bible. God, Jesus said it. Don't fear. And a lot of people make preparations and stuff, which is great. And you were saying you want to become dependent and stuff, which I get things so you're not as dependent, which is great. But there's a lot of people that aren't in that situation, and then they might fall back into the fear. And I just want to say to them, in the Bible it says manna fell from heaven to feed them, right? What it says that God clothed, the birds aren't worried about being clothed, like. So if we can shift our worry off of that, and really, in my estimation, when you distill it down, that worry comes from a fear of death. Now, none of us want to die. Maybe some of us do, and I don't want to die myself. But I found that I've been through certain situations in my life where I almost died, and I've came over it, and I've overcome it. And I've pretty much overcome my fear of death. And now I see a lot of these things in for what they really are. It's like when you're seeing the Matrix. You're like, it's just a thing to scare you about dying someday, or you're not going to have toilet paper, even. Like that's even the extreme. And I'm like, just focus on God, whatever your faith is, Jesus, Allah, Krishna, like whatever you got to do. Like the Muslims praying in the during the earthquake, it's the same kind of thing. Because
Right.
look at the stories of Moses where the water parted, Jonah and the whale. Things can happen. I believe in resets. I think all these mountains we see where it used to be old pyramids, maybe some of these things. I mean, who knows, right? But I feel like a reset can happen and my neighbor could be getting nuked and the guy next to me could be getting nuked and I could just be sitting there having a sunny day. And I know that sounds crazy, everybody, but when we talk about what this realm is and what it could be, and people get into like simulation theory, and I don't think this is a simulation. It could be similar. I think it's described that way because we only know computers, but I think our brain is like a way more advanced computer. So it seems to us like it's some kind of simulation. But I think there's no physical thing on the outside. That's what it is. We're here anyway to work on ourselves. So I feel like that's the key to just not have fear and or act despite of the fear, right? Because it's going to creep in. You're going to feel afraid, and you shouldn't fail, allow yourself to fail because you feel the fear. You could just do the litany against fear. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer, the whole thing. But I really feel like that's the key. And then, if you want to check out what's going on, and again, I'm not telling anyone how to live. I just feel like when you start to get pulled into these things because they're so interesting. We look back in history on times in history, wow, like that must have been cool. But now, oh my God, there's some crazy stuff going on. So it's like, especially what you said about the celebrity, it just draws everybody in because they've been watching these people their whole lives. It feels like they're part of their family, like Tom Hanks, like
For real.
Bruce Willis, you know what I mean? So I always would tell people, like you look at everything optimistically. I'm not worried about somebody like you. It's the people who it grabs them back. It's like crabs in a bucket. It's that crabs in a bucket analogy. And I was telling my wife about this. I'm like, you become a spiritual crab and you ascend, and they try to grab you and they can't because you're technically like in a different realm. But if you start to think about what they want you to think about and you start to lower yourself, then they can grab you and bring you back down. It's so crazy. So that's kind of my plan. I mean, I do have some preparations or whatever and stuff, but I really feel like I used to get so nailed on that and I'd freak out and I'm like, what am I gonna do? And now I'm like, you know what? God's going to provide a way for me. Why would he just have me starve in a house, like
That's
fighting
where
with my neighbors, like maybe if that's the way we're supposed to go, then there's something I've got to learn there. And I don't know, but that's how I look at it. And it just makes more sense. And again, I just feel like less of a victim. And now more of my time and attention is mine instead of the world's. It's not sucking it out. I'm kind of using the world instead of it using me in a way.
that's a good way to look at it. And like the state of fear flux that people are in now with, the news and getting into the truther stuff, history's a lie. Everything you eat now is bad for you, microplastics, this and that, yada yada. There's a blue beam going to come down and burn everything. That's not a roof that has blue color, and it's just insane. It could be really, it could wash you away. And then if you are in that fear flux state, that's how you're easily controlled, right? And
You'll do whatever they say.
for real, even
You'll
like Novid was a really good example of that, unfortunately. And as you see it now, that's why that collective mirror. Yeah, dude, I'm for real. Like it's the memes that are out now is like, don't let them forget what they did to us. And I'm like, yeah, don't get into that, because then that could breed that victim narrative though. It's like, hey, we're through it now. We know the characteristics of it, if it happens again, Jill Bates, whatever. And
yeah, how about like forgive them, Father, for they now know not what they do,
exactly. I mean, for real. I mean, are you going to talk about it or be about it at this point? And it's like you try to make yourself less dependent on the system and be more independent. It's tough to do that, and not everybody has the Niagara River, which I love and cherish so much. And I researched like an animal, and it's a freshwater, massive river that I could walk to in the winter and fish it. Okay, that gives me a sense of being content, but not everybody has that. And also having that your faith and the positivity and your faith, I could see how others who are ignorant to it, and I'm not saying it in a negative way, can be, or like interpret that as us being willfully ignorant. Oh, it's just God's going to save us. How could you be so ignorant to that? But it's a different type of faith. It's a different type of nuance. We're not sitting here saying that. There's a great allegory or a story about a guy who is in the flood. I forget. I'm probably going to chop this up, but he's waiting to be saved by God. And a boat comes by. And he's like, no, God's going to save me. Helicopter comes by. Oh, God's going to save me. And then God's like, and then he perishes and goes to heaven. He's like, God's like, what were you doing? He's like, well, I was waiting for you to save me. And God's like, well, I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter. Sometimes you got to jump in, right? I could see that's a good analogy for people thinking that our faith is an ignorant, oh, God's going to save me type of deal.
Even if it is, Dustin, even if our faith is ignorant, guess what? That's our journey, I feel like, right? So how dare anybody else tell us, like, we're going to figure it out. And I feel like that also is why we're able to do evil. Could it be not only just to not choose to do it, but so we can experience doing it? We can experience doing it so much that we get sick of it. That's kind of what I did in my life. I was, I'm not proud to talk about it in a book, but I'm also not, it made me who I am. But I was kind of a lot with the women, I'll just say it that way. And I had severe intimacy issues, really what it was. And if I didn't do it until I was done and get disgusted with myself, I would still have this proclivity inside me to do it. And who knows where it would come out, right? Who knows? I'd be looking at feet on the internet or something. You're like, sorry, we just were talking about feet lately. How creepy and
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Allegedly, he's got something going on with feet.
I did it until I was done. And I think that's what a lot of this, and I'm not saying this is the path for everybody, right? Everyone's got to kind of find their own path because there's limits. But I rely on this compass, if you will, within me that I feel is like the Holy Spirit, right? Or God somehow put it in me. Whereas when I'm doing wrong or if I'm lying or something, I just don't feel right. I don't feel right. But when I do the right thing, I feel great about it. And when I put other people first, and that doesn't mean, when you put other people first, because that's another thing that's really nuanced, because some people become people pleasers and they put everyone first to the detriment of themselves. I feel like you have to love yourself first in order to love other people in a positive self-love way, the way Christ talks about it. You have to love God first, yourself, this whole thing to have true love, and then really love other people. And I feel like it's all there. All the red words. Look at the red words in your Bible. Where did it go? I had the Bible I got in boot camp. I had it with me. Here it is. Look at this. I got 1994.
Around.
Look at this. They give you a New Testament and Psalms and Proverbs.
Nice.
Yeah, and just I used to read this thing every night.
I got like the exact opposite hanging around me.
I have a few of different ones, but I like keeping this one right here. Oh yeah, there you go. I need an old one.
This is an old one. This is one of my parents had when they were given when they got married.
Oh, that's still cool though.
By my grandma Jenny. Yeah.
Oh, look, I have. You want to see something funny? Look what I used as a bookmarker. Remember this stuff, guys? Juicy fruit.
Juicy fruit. Yes.
Whoa.
What movie
It
does
was
that
an
make you think of?
axe.
Does anybody know the juicy fruit reference from a classic movie? Here goes my cinema trivia.
I should know. Oh yeah, yeah. No,
Juicy
that's
fruit,
I was thinking of Baby Ruth. Is it the same one?
baby. No, no, Baby Ruth. I think
Goonies?
Goonies. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not in Goonies. Okay, yeah.
Is anybody? I'm not looking at the chat. I'm just looking at our Zoom.
Juicy. I don't even think anyone's in there.
How can I give a hint without giving it away? Fuck it. I'll just
People are
say it.
still
One flew over the cuckoo's nest when he's with Chief. So,
Yes.
and he realizes Chief isn't, and he's playing a game. That's one of the best scenes in the. And he offers juicy fruit to Big Chief, and Big Chief just says juicy fruit, and that's when Jack knows. He's like, "You're fucking playing the system," and and then that's when you become fully on board with Big Chief. You know what I mean? At first, you thought he was a big dumb giant, but that's a great
Yeah,
movie right
yeah.
there. One flew over
That
the
is a
cuckoo's
great.
nest.
Oh my God, yeah. Book
Great
two.
movie. Whatever. Well, that's Hollywood verse. I was just
Yeah,
gonna say
I'm kind
whatever
of sad.
happened.
Speaking of books and movies, I'm kind of sad they never did a. I mean, the David Lynch Dune was pretty good, but man,
You like the Dune, huh? I never
I'll
got into
just say,
Dune.
I'll just say it this way: if you ever been into like Game of Thrones, which is terrible, but it's like,
Oh
it's
wow,
like
never heard
it's
anybody say that.
it's like better game. I can tell you why because I've read Dune, and George R. R. Martin read Dune. I'll just say it like that. It's like
Fair enough.
It's like better Game of Thrones in space with drugs. That's all I got to say.
The
And they do kind of
spice
the spice melange. There's other types of
melange.
drugs, but the way and he also in the later books talks about like sexuality, not sexuality, but just the between men and women and how it's used and like they have different examples of it and there's like sexual imprintation and these groups of women can control men through ecstasy. It's really interesting the way they break it down though and they talk about just human behavior. But anyway, I think they could take that series and literally use it as and make a show out of it and just use the book as the screenplay. I mean, it's that good, but I see why they don't. Anyway,
So they didn't make a show out of Dune yet.
they have made shows, but it's just in the universe and it doesn't really have anything to do with the canon of like the books. In the
Okay.
movies, even the new movies, there's a lot of victim where there shouldn't be. And at the end of the second movie, which is like the end of the first book, you would say, a really important Paul, the hero, his wife leaves him, which does not happen. I'm like, what?
Paul Atreides.
Yeah, his wife like goes out in the desert and leaves, and I'm like that. They're like a strong couple. They like overcome all these things. It's like a positive influence, and then on cinema, they're like breaking up and having all these like,
So was it
you know,
like loosely based off of the universe type of deal? Is it kind of sort of what they did with the Lord of the Rings one? Because
yeah, kind of like that.
that got like lambasted by all that
Yeah, yeah.
the
It's
reviewers.
similar to that, and just little tweaks. Like in Lord of the Rings, you get Aragorn, who's like such a victim and doesn't know if he can be the king. But in the book, he's like, "I'm gonna be the king" the whole time. He's like, "Elendil," and he's like, so it's like, why does the main character kind of like a victim in the movie? Like, I don't know.
It
And
breeds that
again,
victim narrative, man. Yeah, that's the whole woke culture. It's an
but
unfortunate.
maybe it's just more relatable too, to look play devil's advocate or whatever, look at it the other way because
Good
maybe it's
point.
not all they and them. Maybe they wrote it the other way and they're like, people aren't going to relate to this. Who in our society is like jumping up to be a king, like everybody wants to be a victim. So we got to add it. Who knows? I mean, and I like looking at things in that way because then again, it comes back to yourself. Like you said earlier, you look in the mirror instead of when you point the finger, you got at least three pointing back at you. Like, what
For
does that
sure.
say to you? If you have a problem with something out in the world, maybe there's a problem with you. And I know there's terrible things that happen in the world. And I'm not saying that you should be cool with it and cheer it on, but I'm just talking about not being a victim because of it. Maybe God has a plan and we'll figure it out one day. But, we are just mere mortals. Remember, everybody.
Dude, yeah, the darkness is abided. He abides the darkness to offer the choice for the people who want to choose the light, you know,
Yeah.
and you learn it. You learn from that also.
And think about all these people are like whistleblowers or somebody who used to be like a Satanist and they make a flip. They always make the best people in that realm. It's like the people who know it, the evil part or whatever, the best who've done it and don't want it. It doesn't attract them anymore, which is great. Because think about when you get famous, somebody gets famous off of, say, even doing this YouTube thing, right? When you have all this extra money and attention, sometimes people just can't handle it. So you need to know that you've walked both sides. You've had that temptation, whatever. Even in the Bible, Christ was tempted. the devil showed him everything, right? He's like, you can have all this. And he's like, nah,
That's
I'm
right.
good. I'm good. It's like,
That's
I'm
right.
not here for this. Why am I going to build my treasures in this fake realm or whatever, this, you know, you get it.
Oh no, it's a
Anyway,
good point. Yeah, and that's one of my favorite parts of the Bible. It shows how strong and steadfast Jesus was against the temptation, right? Little flat earth reference too as well that people like to use that, like
yeah.
RV Truth will use that. How could you take them up to a high place and see all of the cities of the earth on a globe, eh?
Yeah.
Little trope to the globers, but
How dare you?
uh that's another trope of, and it's funny watching people get interested in is the whole flat earth and globe debate. But
Whereas I'm like, it's probably all of them. Like, to whoever thinks, I feel, and this might be crazy too, but I feel like whatever you believe is how it's shown to you. So maybe you can't really,
dude, what's
space,
his name
whatever.
says that? Yeah, Matt from Quantum of Conscious is like it gives you the pissed on breadcrumbs that
Yeah.
you're looking for, right? So
Yeah.
then, like fluid reality, maybe there is some of that, and that's where it gets integrated. And I didn't mean to get into the whole globe Earth, flat Earth
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
but the devil taking Jesus up to a high place and showing them all, it does kind of maybe allude to it a little bit, dare I say?
Dare we say, yeah.
But
I just say, I just tell people that, listen, none of us are really ever going to know what it is till we exit,
exactly,
probably. So, well, I'd like to have fun discussions about it. I call it a realm and all this fun stuff.
I like
But
that
it,
too, bro. I'm hard on.
yeah.
I'm hard. I go hard on the realm
Yeah.
Earth. I don't believe it's a globe. But here's the deal: you got people like the priest class of the other side saying you have to believe in these constructs that we put out there. And dude, I was so into astronomy as a kid, and I'm not sure if we talked about this before. I have all the books. I read them: black holes, neutron stars. My dad walked me into the planetarium at UB when I was like 10, and it was head first, man. Uh, the solar system, even deep space, black holes, quasars, all that. I learned it all. So I do have that background in me too. But I just got to a point where I'm like, they just keep on making more questions. And the Higgs boson, they're smashing particles together. They're supposed to find so many different applications in real world when they found the Higgs, and they did, and just created more questions. And it was a series of where are we going with this string theory? There's more dimensions. And yeah, that's great. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm right. You're wrong. You guys are, like Neil deGrasse Tyson is saying that. I'm saying I don't know. I don't believe in that anymore. I definitely don't know what the shape of it is. It does appear to, in my opinion, from what I see people doing experiments, it does appear to be flat, but I don't know what it is. Maybe the whole thing as a whole is a toroidal sphere. And maybe they're being wizards when they say it's a sphere globe. Maybe they're talking about the whole system to include the firmament in the underworld. I'm going a million miles an hour here, but that's
No,
what
it's
I'm.
cool.
That was my. It wasn't like I just automatically started thinking space was fake. It was a progression of this doesn't add up. This doesn't add up. How are these dudes
Yeah.
making these
Yeah.
laser passes on the sled? It's not adding up. Why is this pilot saying it's flat? It was how come we don't have parallax with constellations over 4,000 years? Orion's the same. How come we're not seeing it different if we're traveling millions of miles through a galactic plane? It's just it was a preponderance of lack of evidence, I guess. And
Yeah. Yeah.
but Neil
Yeah.
deGrasse Tyson will laugh at us and say he doesn't know what fucking gravity is. So
Yeah.
pump the brakes
I'll
professionally.
tell you
We
one
have a
thing.
level
People
playing
have been
field here.
laughing at me my whole life, and I feel like I just realized recently. What's up, undoctrinated? He says, if you want to know the shape of something, look to the measurements as proof. Yes. Yo, Brandon, what's up? Welcome. I feel like that it's a gaslighting technique. I have this joke where my wife and I will like, who has a lighter? She'll be like, you stole the lighter, but she has it. And I'm like, you're gaslightering me. Anyway, so it's like this gaslighting that they do where they laugh at you like, you're such a fool for your questions. And I've always had these questions. Once I was 5 and we were leaving McDonald's and I was with my dad and my brother in the back seat. I was in the front seat at 5 in a Dodge Omni in 1982, 1, 2, whatever. And somebody just told me they saw this. I was telling the story and they're like, oh, I remember seeing this in the newspaper. They were a little older than me, right? So that this gives you a little idea where it's going. So we're in the car. The car starts to smoke. So my dad stops, gets out of the car and says, I'll be right back. I'm going to go get help or whatever. And I was like, raising my hand. He's like, I'll be right back. Shut up. And I'm like, hey, Dad, shouldn't we get out of the car? He's like, Yeah, wait a minute, what's wrong with you? Get out of the car. And then a few minutes later, the car was engulfed in flames.
No
So
way.
yeah, so that's what I tell people when they start say thing. I'm like, listen, since 5, I've been autonomous. I've had my own life now in my hands because it was, who knows, maybe I would have got pulled out of there, but so it's like I've been laughed at a lot my whole life. I mean, my dad wasn't laughing at me then, but it's other things too where they laugh. Then later you see it and you're like, oh, they just didn't know, and it was just something everyone accepted. So it's kind of like the high school thing. You feel like you're in high school to a certain degree where everyone's like, ha ha ha, and you're like, I just have questions though, man.
Yeah,
It's
I'm not making claims. Exactly. Well, I'm not
no
making
claims.
claims. That's and that I've I've been very wary of that, even with my research and my history research. And I'm not making claims as opposed to some of these other alternative history research channels, counterparts, if you will, that make claims. I'm not even going to mention names, but I think we've done. I'm proud of the work that Ewart and Wood and Nichols and I have done to kind of put the different side out about Tartaria and free energy buildings, and they were here before. Hey, if you think that, that's hey, I'm not saying you're completely wrong, but I don't believe in that. And it's not to say there's not mystery to history, but tracking it back to what I was saying, I'm very cognizant of and to not make claims unless I have empirical data to support it. That's citable, referenceable, repeatable by somebody else at a different place.
Yeah,
But
I
they're
think
not. They
these.
don't offer the same. They don't offer that same. Uh, I guess you'd say respect from coming from the priest class. You must believe that this. If you don't, you have to believe in the Big Bang and therefore inflation and supersymmetry and all this crazy stuff that it literally just becomes. It looks like you had a comment that says the measurable. How can you measure what inflation was? It's literally just a construct. They think that it happened because it explains what we see. Everything's so uniform. So when the Big Bang exploded, there must have been a phase of inflation where everything got so fast so quickly that it spread out evenly. Because how does things spread out evenly from an explosion? How do you measure that? How can you're citing measurements? How do you measure that? But they actually cite it as if it's fact. You can't really measure that. It's inferred. And this is kind of stuff that we're saying, and it's across the board. So yeah, I mean, how do you even measure this? Eratosthenes, I get it, the circumference of the alleged globe per his stick measurement, but the inverse of that is also true. It's another gauge symmetry. It can I'm getting a little bit hyped up here. Let me back up. Everybody cites Eratosthenes because Carl Sagan did it in Cosmos in 1982. Carl Sagan. It's a joke. I got to calm down. I'm being a little trolling here, but the opposite is actually true. Eratosthenes' experiment can show that it was either 93 million miles away and a distant light, or and the ball is round. It also works if it's a local light source and the plane is flat. That's been showed. So but they're only showing one argument of it. When the exact opposite is also true if it's local and it's flat. Why don't they show that? It's just, what do you choose to look at? I mean, on a certain level, I do think it's a magician's trick. Look up here, not there. Look at what they're doing with NASA. I don't, it's my opinion. I don't want to go too crazy on it, but it's a very polarizing subject. Let's just say
Yeah,
that.
that's the important part, right? It's another trap for people to argue
Thank
about
you.
instead of
Right, right,
cleaning up their own act, right? Instead of worrying about their own behavior, they point to others' behavior. It's the same old argument that's been going on for
right.
however, who knows long. And it's that one, the whatever you want to say, the adversary, the deceiver, Shaitan. He's like,
King
yeah, but
Gamma.
what about them? They're not doing it. Why do you have to do it if they're
Right.
not doing it?
Dude, I'm telling you, like I said earlier about, yeah, he's like the ultimate. It's a jokester too. The King Gamma has a sense of humor. Owen has said that, and he's like a comedian almost,
Yeah.
And yeah. So that's the Realm Earth opinion on me. I'm
What
not
about
saying it's
go ahead.
100% flat, and I know it 100%. I'm just saying I don't believe in the globe model anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how and I think space is more wondrous and magical than we can even imagine that we're trying to told it's some physical thing. I think it's us. We're looking at a reflection of ourselves in a way. it's the abyss. What's there? I don't know. It's all these things, but
The Apsu, yeah, the Gununga gap. It's the schism, and that could be applied civilizationally because there's a whole bunch of schisms right now in civilization and people and culture. You just say the left or the right, or you could say woke versus non-woke. There's schisms everywhere, and they're widening everywhere. And some might say that that's indicative of a societal, downturn and the whole Ouroboros of it. Like I said it before, we keep on falling on our fucking face. But you see
yeah.
these patterns over time, and if you research history, that's what fascinates me about the sociology and the history of what's going on. Because like you said before, dude, we are in a crazy, amazing time to behold all this going on right now. The tech world meshing up with the truther world, meshing up with the people waking up to the whole Illuminati of things and all that. But it's not all that. And again, I stress, people know that meme where it's, if I could explain it properly, there's one dude facing a massive crowd, and it's got a bubble of it. You could put whatever you want in there. I put a meme up that piggybacked off that meme, that just one dude staring at the masses, and this whole concept of the deep state and Q, whatever. But the masses themselves, us in general, the unwashed masses, are a component of the deep state, in my opinion. Our wants and needs, they're selling us back to us and our vices. So we complete a system of it. And so why keep on saying they? That can get you in that can get you in a spot. That can get you wrapped up in the torches and pitchforks crowd that wants to go and burn the castle. Meanwhile, you burn each other before you even get to the moat. So you know what I mean? Like that. Are people
Yes.
failing to realize this on a level, or it's just, hey, I got to give them a little, get hyped up again? How do you not see it? How do you not see it? So I offer some.
This is could it be this, right? I feel like people are lying to themselves. That's why they can't see. And it's okay. Again, I'm trying not to judge people myself because I feel like what could be happening is similar to what they call what's known in Christianity as like the rapture. And people are going into their little groups, and I feel like there's your own little reality tunnel group you can go in, and you'll be just fine. Because I feel overall, what I see is people in this society not learning lessons, not trying to work on themselves. They're just basically stuck in materialism, which is great. I mean, it's a function of the thing. It's a choice you can make to do. And I feel like we're probably being guided there. And what happens when the civilization gets too materialistic, somehow it probably falls. And you see it all the time in history. They talk about it or whatever, right? And it doesn't mean that there wasn't a seed group of people. And now on the spiritual level, I feel like what happens is maybe these people, and again, not everyone believes in this stuff. It's kind of like reincarnation, but I don't exactly believe in the reincarnation that's bought to. Like, I don't, let's not get into
Could
that
be
discussion.
something
But
to it,
anyway,
man. Yeah, there could be
could be
something to.
something to it. And what I'm
Yeah,
thinking is if that's the case, maybe these people, it sounds callous, but they get wiped out, but then they're able to be reborn, or even that spirit that is them is able to be put in a place. And then who's left in this realm but people who have faith? So now they're in a house or whatever, people who have faith, and now they can maybe have another go at it. Because I feel like this trauma, this generational trauma, has been being passed down so much in families, and you can see it. There's all this control. Everybody wants to control what their kids do. You got to do this. Well, not everybody, a lot of people, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this. And I feel like it comes from this trauma. And as people start to heal it, like with your children, the way you're with your daughter, where you're talking about that stuff and all that, it's amazing. We treat them like regular people. And yeah, trauma is going to happen. Things are going to happen to them. And you
exactly.
allow them and you tell them, hey, this is life. Sometimes it happens, right? Like the glass half full thing you were talking about. Amazing. And I feel like that's how we get through it and go to the future. And we could kind of just detach from all that other stuff. And people will say, yeah, but I'm on the grid. And what if my grid goes down? Just be on God's grid. That's all you got
Yeah.
to worry about. And again, not like we were saying earlier, and Dustin said, like, oh, I'm just gonna let God take care of everything. It'll be fine. It's more about watching the omens. If a boat shows up, get on the boat. If a helicopter shows up, get on the helicopter. But it's
Yes,
the omens. I have a joke also I'm working on with this humidity on the East Coast. I'm like, I think it's a warning. I'm like, I
bro.
think
Are you
God's.
are you feeling it too? It's humid. I'm
I
not.
mean, dude, it's brutal
It's been, and I
this
don't want to
year.
cry about I said to
Me
myself
neither.
at the beginning, because we had such a cold winter, and we
Yeah.
know winters, Connecticut, it was we're used to blizzards off Lake Erie. Okay. But it was so cold for so long that it was like, damn, this is pretty cold. Under freezing for over a month and a half, almost 2 months, man. So I
Wow.
told myself I wasn't going to bitch about the heat, because I do love the change of season up here in the Northeast. I really do. I can never move away from it. I can never move too far away from the Niagara River, number one. But I love the change of season, right? So I told myself, bro, I'm like, I'm not going to cry about the heat and humidity this summer because it was so damn cold in the winter. But man, it's been humid. It's been humid. I recently just put a pool up in the backyard for my daughter. She's a fish. She's like her
Yeah, me
dad. I
too.
love, I love swimming, man.
Me too.
Always have, and she has that gene for me, and she's loving it. Just one of those prop up pools, nothing
Yeah.
crazy. One of those
We were thinking
bladder,
about getting one of those.
dude. They're mine's pretty big, and it's perfect for her because she's 7, and she loves it. She's got her own pool now. You know what I mean? And she loves it. So,
Oh
um,
yeah.
but yeah, it's been hot. It's been hot and humid, not too hot. So I'm not complaining. I'm just observing. But it's been humid.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I feel like people fall into this trap of they always forget, like that one day. Well, in Connecticut here, we always get like a day in January where it's like 50 or 60, and everyone's like, "Oh, global warming." I'm like, "It happens every year. Stop it." And
Oh god,
but I feel like the humidity and the breaks of it have been more intense. It has been like that in the past. I remember growing up, but I was just thinking about it one day. I'm in this humidity, and I'm like, maybe God's just trying to warn people. He's like, just get away. He's like, no one would ever exist in this humidity. I'm like, something's coming, guys. No, I don't know. Again, I like to play with these concepts with humor because something is coming. It's a reckoning, a reckoning, and it is our death. Each and every one of us that's listening to this is gonna die.
good point.
And could it be that the allegory of the end of the world is just plugged into your fear of death, and that's how they get you every time? And if you're not right when you die, I'm not saying that you go to a pit of lake of fire and burn eternally burn in hell forever. Maybe you do, but I think that if you're more aware and conscious when you die, and you think of it more as like, where am I going to go next? Oh, this looks interesting, instead of being like forcefully being like, I don't want to go. Because I feel like if something does happen after you die, nobody knows, but if it does, it really depends on your state of where your mind was before or where your spirit was before, and then from there, who knows,
I
so
could dig that. Yes.
and maybe you just repeat and learn lessons again and all this stuff. But I feel like, though, how in Truman Show, everyone's rooting for him, and I think Owen's talked about this before too. And but I feel like there's people on the outside of this realm that are fucking rooting for us. So that's why, like, I'm doing a show
It's a
with you. There's
possibility.
a couple people in the chat. People ask me, "Oh, do you make any money doing this?" And I'm like, no. But the people on the outside, they're fucking cheering me on. They have pictures of me. They
Love
got
it.
T-shirts. They're wearing Brandon T-shirts. They're like, he's
Dude,
gonna figure this shit out. He's killing it out there.
talk about
And
a
same
truth drop
about you.
movie. Dude, that's
Yeah,
great. It's great.
they're cheering for us now. They're watching this out. They're going, man, these guys could be watching porn right now, but they decided instead to take their lives and be selfless in that way, and just like spread a message and have a chill chat. Like these are the thoughts that I try to have, because there's so much of this negative self-talk that goes on. We're pretty much trained, I feel like, to have this negative self-talk from our parents, which they don't mean to do it. And some of us have better, so it's not. But then you go to school and priests and all this different stuff, and they teach you to fall in line. I was in the Marine Corps to talk about falling in line, right? So you have this negative self-talk. So I've been trying to replace it with good self-talk. That is even could it be that your negative self-talk is the connection to Satan? Is that the hotline to Satan where he's in there telling you these things like, oh, why are you gonna podcast with Dustin? He probably doesn't even like you. You look like a hippie. I mean, I know you're not thinking that, but just these silly thoughts that come in. I'm a heathen. Damn it, what's the difference? I might shoot you. No, but that's really what I'm talking about, is trying to, that's how I feel like I could be more optimistic or whatever, or overcome these challenges, is to just do it in the spirit of like joy and laughter. And if I go, I'm going to try to go out laughing. Hopefully I'll die laughing. That's like my number one
That's the
thing,
ultimate optimistic outlook,
right?
man.
Right. Just go out like somebody. Yeah. I mean,
It's a state of being,
yeah.
like, yeah, like, I don't want to die, but my
Yeah.
faith has given me the I'm not scared of it. I have faith. For example, so I could hear somebody saying, "Well, you have a daughter. Why would you?" I have faith that my daughter will be looked after for some. My wife would be here. I have close family. It's that type of thing. You know, um, I certainly don't want to, but I'm not scared of it like I was before. Like if you're in the black void of nothing and nothing's afterwards. And I never really got too far away from not getting into the religious aspect of it, but having the Catholic upbringing, I always had that notion of it. But then when I got into the astronomy, a lot of it, I did have some, like, I wouldn't say dark nights of the soul because I was so young, but it's like, man, yeah, like, I did go to religious class and what they're saying about space. And if it's just nothing and God is not here, it puts things in a certain perspective. But the way you just put it, I wish I could die laughing. You could say that you die with your faith, you will be dying laughing no matter what. I guess maybe
Yeah.
a way to look at it. I don't
And
know.
I say this sometimes, and I get it if people, this might even be offensive to some people, but I think this universe, this realm, I will say, is a giant ball busting machine. It's just going to keep busting your balls and saying, not all the time. And I'm not saying this like in a bad way, because you could totally have a fun time and a great life in a white, but things are going to happen and just try to bust your balls. And it's going to try, it's like testing your faith, but it's like little ball busting incidents. And sometimes they're even bigger. It's like Job kind of, right? You think about that,
Oh,
right? And
have you
I feel like
considered my
it's a
servant
big
Job?
joke. I feel like God is a comedian. He's up there kind of laughing because the things that happen, sometimes they seem really sad or upset. Or like even I'll bump my head or hit my shin or something. I'm 6'5". It's hard for people to really tell, and I'm super clumsy, And so now though I look at it as it's like a joke, it's like, oh, I should slow down. Maybe I'm going too fast right now. Like if I'm driving and I'm doing something and I drop it, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna drive now. I try to like read the signs and the omens and see where they bring me because like the next one might be a car accident, like the next ball busting
Right.
sign. And the last time I actually got into a car accident, well, no, there was another one. Somebody hit me, but somebody hit me this other time in 2016. I got rear-ended. There was another time in
Oh,
2021 where oh no, 2022, rest in peace, my Tahoe. I was coming around the corner and some guy just blew a stop sign and like hit me and they totaled
oh
my car.
no.
But it wasn't bad, but it's just because it was the older Tahoe. But anyway, so this one incident, it was the Tahoe again. I was driving home from a gig and the DJ that I was DJing with had a Subaru and he was like behind me and he wasn't paying attention and there was a stop sign out of nowhere and he was a young kid and he slammed into the back of me. And as I got hit, I didn't see him coming. I'm like at a stop sign, la la, and then all of a sudden, poof, as I got hit, instead of like being sad or upset about it, I was just like, whoa. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm getting hit. I'm like, all right, it'll be fine. Everything's gonna. And I got out and he was freaking out. He was all upset about it and he thought I was mad. I'm like, dude, don't worry about it,
Did things go in slow motion for you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because that's a thing, man. That's a thing when shit pops off and getting real, or before something happens hectically, is people talk about the slow motion. That's crazy. You were cognizant of it, and it could have been worse. Both of them, dude. God bless. I mean, geez.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, totally. I've seen some things and I've narrowly escaped some car accidents too because I'm just really quick. I have very fast reflexes. So,
Dude, you're like
I,
Quicksilver. You're like thinking about it as you're getting hit. Like, whoa, this is happening right now. Yep. Okay, that's funny.
yeah. And I noticed that the time it happened that I remember most distinctly, and I've told this story on my show a bunch of times, so I'll keep it brief. But I was in Ocean City in about 2008. We used to go every year for right before I was DJing, right before I started DJing. So maybe it was even yeah. Anyway. So we used to go for this car show. I wasn't even into Volkswagens or whatever, but there was this car show there in like September, and I would just go for the good time of it with my friends. And we were in Ocean City, and there was like a hurricane way offshore, so it was making it so he couldn't swim. There's all these eddies, currents. The last day we were there, it calmed down, so we were just standing near the beach. I was like not even knee deep, and a little wave came in past me, and when it came back again, not even past my knees, when it came back, the sand under me disappeared, and I got sucked out into the ocean
No way. True
like a bit. And
undertow.
my friend was standing next to me, maybe 6 inches closer to shore, if that, and it didn't happen to him. And so as it was happening, I was just like, all right. And we were just talking about what you do if you get sucked out into a what do they call it? Undertow,
Rip
right?
a,
When it
a rip a rip current.
ripped current. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm going for a ride. So I said to him, I guess I'm going for a ride. So I thought it was just gonna be this little thing and I'd swim back in. No, I got pulled
Ah.
out over my head and I'm 6'5", and the
Oh
waves
shit, really?
were crashing over me too. So at first I was just bouncing. I'm like, because I grew up next to a river. I'm near Long Island Sound. I used to go swimming, boating all the time. I was in the Marines. Like I'm a really good
Hoorah.
swimmer. So I just was like bouncing and swimming, and all of a sudden I couldn't hit the bottom anymore without going under.
Oh no.
And then this thing I started to panic, and it was like time stopped, and it said you have a choice now. You can fucking panic, and die, or you could just say, let's see what happens. And I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna see what happens. And I got water in my mouth a couple times, and then out of nowhere, my feet hit the ground, and I started to walk toward, and I
Yeah.
was on a sandbar, still 200 feet off a shore, but on the sandbar that must have been created by the eddy. And I walked back in, and there's people on the shore because there wasn't a lot of people on the beach because it was a bad day. But my friend and these two other people stopped, and they were like freaking out. And I walked back in, and they were just like, "What happened?" Good thing I didn't look like this. I had short hair. You know, if I looked like this, they might have been like,
Yo, Jesus walking on water.
That's what I'm saying. I might have a
Yes.
people following me around. You
Veracocha.
know?
Yo, that's fun. Yo, because allegedly Veracocha came in off the sea salt, South America. He's one of the deities down in
Oh
South America.
yeah.
Veracocha. That's in fuck, excuse me. What's
He's
his
probably a
name?
tall white man with a beard, right?
Hancock. Graham Hancock writes
Oh,
about
Graham
him
Hancock.
in
Yeah.
his what of the gods, something like that. But dude, the
Oh yeah, yeah.
ocean and you.
Fingerprints.
Yes, that's right. I got it laying around here somewhere, and he
Fingerprints
was
of the gods.
talking.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny that you mentioned, yo, the bounce is a tactic in the waves. You use the. I was teaching I was just up in Canada because I go to Canada a lot. My parents' neighbor has a cottage up there. One of
Oh.
my favorite places in the whole world, the realm. Right. I've had it ever since I was a kid, so I've had the ability to go up there and just, you're in another country. It was just magical for me. But I'm bringing my daughter there now, full circle, right? And we were out in the waves in the lake, dude. The ocean scares the shite out of me. Okay, like I respect it, but dude, I will never. If that happened to me, I might be one to panic, and I'm not one to panic. But the ocean terrifies me because I have a respect for water, and like you said, I've been swimming my whole life. I'm a very strong swimmer. I got the river right here. It's one of the most powerful rivers, even though it's small in all of United States, the Niagara
Oh
River,
yeah.
because it's got such a high cubic flow rate, even though it's 36 miles long, Illuminati confirmed, and it descends 333 feet in elevation, Illuminati double
Of
confirmed.
course it
That's
does.
besides the point. Of course it does. Yes, strong swimmer, but the ocean terrifies me. But I was telling my daughter because the lake gets a little wavy, Lake Erie. As a matter of fact, it picks up the fastest. Waves don't get too big, but they can get big. It's very shallow, so they don't get massive. But I was telling her to utilize that jump thing when you get feel the bottom and use the bottom to. I'm teaching her how to swim now too, even though she's in swim class. I like to do it as well. Use the bottom to bounce off, right? And dude, if I had to do that in the ocean, I'd be terrified. I
It
can't even
was
believe I'm saying that, but um, I do have a phobia of like deep ocean water. And mountains too. Even being on mountains, I can't believe I'm admitting to that also. But
Hey, the admitting is the first step,
dude, that's a true story. That's like the undertow pulled you into a rip current because undertows are I could see them being extremely bad on a angled ocean beach where they crash really close and that pull can pull you in. But it's the rip
That's
currents, it's the rip that pulls you out deep.
yeah, yeah.
The low lying level in between sandbars, you're lucky, dude. And your time slowing down is like an attribute. It's like almost like a superhero attribute, bro.
Oh,
That's crazy. That terrifies me, bro.
I've been in the store before because like I said, I'm clumsy and I'll have a couple things and one thing will go to fall and I just reach out so fast and grab it and I like look at the dude next to me and I'm like, shh.
You see that? Yeah, that's
I've
funny.
done that before, yeah, because they
You
look at
got
me
that
like,
quick
dude.
reflex.
And I'm like, I'm just in the moment. That's what it is. I'm just not thinking about my phone, guys. You could
I
do it
would
too.
say that that's actually the opposite of clumsy, bro. How dare you? Don't sell
Yeah,
yourself
yeah,
short.
yeah. Well, it's like makes up for my clumsiness. I go throughout life like the drunken master, even though I don't really drink. I'm like,
There
ooh.
you go. Yeah, that's hilarious. But yeah, the ocean, man. I've been
So
in the ocean, but man,
I get in the chat says this Berserker beer that I collaborated with Michelle Gibson.
yeah, it is. Yeah,
Oh,
shout out to
awesome.
Michelle
Oh,
Gibson a long
Nigel.
time ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
good
Yeah,
callback,
Nigel's
man.
been around for a while.
I've been around for longer than I remember sometimes, and I've gotten
Yes.
away from making videos, man. And I don't even. I'm
I was going to ask you
basically.
about that. So let's talk about that. What have you been up to lately? Let's get in that before we get out of here. We got at least another half
Oh,
hour.
cool.
So, yeah,
Well, last year my life's been real busy with work and family. Without getting
I
too
hear
much into
you.
it, it's going really good. Things are good, but I haven't been doing my research. Well, presentation of research. I'm always researching and reading. I
Yeah.
should say that and distinguish.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you know as well as anybody who's in the presenting game that it's a whole nother component to put something together in a cohesive form, hit record, whether you're going live or just pre-recording. And I'm not sure if it's a thing of like for real, like analysis paralysis or just seasons of life, because I'm starting to get the itch back now to make a video again and get back out there and let people know for the sake of just some of my fans wondering where I'm at. I kind of feel bad about that because I got, people like what I do. I'm in a city that's quintessential Tartarian, Buffalo. I mean, that's kind of what got me into it. I'll shout out John Levi. His work, really got me into it. And then I linked up with like Autodidactic and Michelle Gibson and even Phil Druzinin a lot back in the day when I was really thinking that this Tartarian mud flood thing might be a thing. But again, I never dove in full and I never made claims about it. I was always like more along the lines of, well, Buffalo is kind of a quintessential city of like it had a fire. You can call that a reset. It's got buildings, it's got old buildings that some might say, and some have said we're here for 1,000 years. That I disagree with. It's got the buildings that look like they're underground. That looks like a mud flood came. I happen to think that has to do with city grading, and as the city expands, they got to grade it out. But the past year, I've been away from it a little bit. Not the research, but the presenting. But I'm getting that itch back. So
Yeah, I hear you, bro. And
I
let
want
me
to let
say
people
really
know.
quickly one thing,
Oh yeah, go
really
ahead.
cool too. I feel like the reason I could have been falling to a lot of pitfalls too with the stuff that I went down rabbit holes. I am very interested in the stuff you're into, but I'm also into other things too. And so, but what it was with me, and I'm starting to see it like you because we had this upbringing where we were around a lot of like real men or like ball busters or people who would like check you on stuff. You couldn't just come to people and make a claim. You could get smacked. There's a song by Pussifer, Maynard's band, the guy from Tool has another band, and it's like he has a line. It's like you sound like someone who's never been smacked in the mouth or whatever. And I feel like that's what the internet is. And people like us, we're not making claims because we've been smacked in the mouth, and we
So funny.
realize that
I've said that to people before. You come across like people on panel versus. You sound like someone who's never been punched in the mouth before. They get real
exactly,
bent
dude.
out of.
And that's why I want to say I feel like that's why you didn't get caught into it because you never made it your identity. You had a strong identity. You weren't like, oh, I'm a Tartaria guy now. Like it's like there's this guy, Mark Passio, who I follow, who's really into like natural law and all this stuff. And he has a lot of good truth, but there's some people that kind of get stuck in it and they're like him, they're like little mini versions of him. And I'm like, you got to do your own thing, bro. Like you need to have an identity. And I even in comedy that's kind of why I took a break from comedy in 2020 because I wasn't being myself. And you talk about these like seasons of life and analysis paralysis and should I be doing it? And half of it is you feel so bad that you didn't. You got to battle that and then to get other stuff out. And so what I say to people is
Yeah,
just be easy on yourself. Everything is kind of meant to happen in its own time and in its own way. And the fact that you aren't consistently putting it out every week, regardless of quality, because some people will just put it out and they're like, ah, whatever. But you want to make sure you have a good quality product too that you research, because I know you more than anyone. You don't want to make any claims because of this realm. There's so many claims. I mean, I don't mean the spiritual realm we live in. I mean the world of Tartaria and alternate
sure.
history and
I'm
all this
with you.
stuff and the Phoenix phenomenon. I used to be able to do a really good archaics impersonation. I haven't heard in a
Yeah,
while, so I can't. But I got
yeah,
and again, and I look at everybody as being able like to contribute, and it really is up to you as a consumer of this media to take the good stuff out and let it go. It's like the trivium process, and it's I said that for a reason because it falls back into what you were saying of the output. This is the output stage of the trivium, which is to
for real.
express what you know. Because if you go down too many rabbit holes and get all this knowledge and you don't express it, I'm not talking about you, Dustin. You express plenty. Don't worry other people listening, if you don't, then it's going to come out at like Thanksgiving dinner, and you're going to be like,
Great
did you
point.
know? And nobody cares at Thanksgiving. They just want to eat. They're
It's an
just,
outlet for you, yeah, and I appreciate you having that. I thank you for assessing that about what I put out because your one fan or the listener fan mentioned Michelle Gibson, and I was at that campfire for a while until I made a hard stance, and again I'll shout out Wood and Nichols and Ewar that like, hey, it's not. I don't believe that anymore. A realm wide, worldwide, global wide, whatever mud flood doesn't make sense to me for what I'm seeing here. At least, yeah. Initially, Buffalo did look like a good cross section of things that were in a reset city or Tartarian city, I don't, but we got ostracized for it big time. And I'm not playing a victim here, but from all those big figureheads of it, and maybe not so much Michelle Gibson, shout her out, or John Levi, but I was rolling with autodidactic and those guys, and I had a community of people. But when I did that hard stance, it's called pivot gate. Um,
Yeah,
when I did that,
I
we were all
remember.
like ostracized for it, you know. And at first, I'm like, "What the fuck? Are you serious?" Then I was starting to learn more about the crazies on the interwebs. Like these people were all cool with me at first when I was heading up a research thing on MeWe that Campbell let me run for him. And uh, when I started backtracking a little bit, and I'd never made claims, but when I started saying, "Hey guys, maybe it's not mudflow, maybe it's city grading," and I'm not seeing anybody putting any real research about how these buildings are going to generate energy. I get it, cathedrals, cymatics, yeah, they took all the bells away, they were healing us all. I still have yet to see anybody really do an experiment that replicates what you're saying one to one. How are they deriving power from it? I know that you could send a wire up in the air and you're pulling some volts down on the like with a I seen that happen before, but you're telling me that a cathedral is giving free energy away that like they can affect heavy mechanical movement on the ground? Is that what you're saying? I haven't seen it yet. So because I've taken that professional stance to say, hey, you got to show me some more, we were ostracized for it, but it was a good learning experience. So I'm
Yeah.
grateful for having gone through it, and I liken it to like sitting down at that campfire, seeing what was going on and picking up what I did and moving on. And there's nothing against anybody who was staying there and saying, hey, it was mud flood. These buildings were here 1,000 years ago. I don't believe that the quintessential Tartarian narrative anymore. That's not to say there's not some really mystery to history. And I'm seeing some shit in Buffalo that I think goes back to ancient times, and that's going to go against the narrative. It doesn't mean Tartarian free energy empire. I guess that's all I'm saying.
It,
The one I want to put out next is about the history of Buffalo and how it's a pinch point to get into the interior. And I think that was known about prior to the Viking Age. I think that there were ruins here that the natives knew about prior to the Viking Age. What happened to them? I don't know. I'm still trying to learn that, but that's where I'm at right now to answer it in a general sense. If I
no,
did,
I love that, man. It's just really makes sense. It's a common sense approach. Admiral Nimitz on the beaches of Iwo Jima said about the Marines that uncommon valor was a common virtue. But I will say that common sense is an uncommon virtue these days. And it's all about fitting something into a box. They want to have a box of Tartaria, or they want to have all their facts straight. They want to know everything. And to me, it's just these cycles. And when I feel like I'm just reading the Matrix. I'm like, oh, it's because you're probably insecure and you don't have your own identity. And if I said these things, I say these just as factual, nice ways because I want to try to help this person. But they're like, how dare you slam my character? But I wouldn't even slander anybody. But I would say if I had to analyze it, and because it's the same thing that happens in any kind of truther community, people are afraid to not know. They need to know that they know, because if they don't know, then what does that mean? Oh my God, I'm not in control. What do you mean? Right.
yeah,
So it's
and
like, who knows? It's better to say we don't know. Right. And I love your approach because you're like, this shit doesn't fit any narrative. Ha.
thank you. I appreciate that. And it becomes a sacred cow. Or
Yeah.
how dare you take our sacred cow from us? Meanwhile, I got no problem slaughtering it in the town square. And I think that we did that not to be antagonistic, I guess, because we took some fucking flack that we probably didn't really deserve for that. Just doing our due diligence. And now it's like the sacred cow has gone to the next level and became a cash cow because it's all over TikTok, and Wooden Nicholas has done a really good job of showing how crazy, and he even got censored from his channel, his original channel, unfortunately, but he was doing a great job showing, and it's still doing. If you go on TikTok, it's all over the place. This was free energy. Look at this building. We had horse and buggy at this time, and
We're
it's
victims. We're victims. We're victims.
dude,
Right.
yeah, for real. Yeah, we were living in a benevolent society before, and Tartarians they were giants and they were giving free energy, and then
And
they
now I
came
need
in
to
and
get
mud
a
flooded it.
job. I gotta get
Antiquitech.
it. And now I need to get a job. How dare you? All right, I'll let you talk. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's how it is. It's like, it's almost like they're looking for the excuse to do nothing. It's like almost like
Shh. Just
it,
kidding, you two. We're just kidding. No, I'm just
that
kidding.
that sends an arrow right through it. And I'm not being judgmental.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, do you want the fucking society? I'm looking at it and seeing characteristics that it might. I'm not saying it better. I'm not trying to wish it into existence. No, I got a family. I don't want it to happen. We can get through it. Okay. It's almost like these guys want to flip the Monopoly board to see what the fuck goes on just for the sake of it. And I would, again, it's the torches and pitchforks crowd. I'd stay away from it, I guess. And a certain segment of the Tartarian alternative history niche did become that, unfortunately. But you know what? That rung burns off rather quickly, and you keep it moving if you got the gumption, right?
Yeah, that's why we grew up in the old school. You know, we were used to
Good
getting
point.
our balls busted and shit. Like, it's okay. Because at the end, we just see that these people have nothing going on in their lives and they're on a keyboard. They've never been smacked in the face. They never even been, no, and no one's even ever done this to you. Remember this one? When you would just be like,
Oh, the
like
flinch,
that.
yeah, yeah. Try to
No
get
one's
him to
even ever
balk
done that.
for sure, dude. You try to get him to balk first, yes, or you
Oh,
balk, try to get him to go, yeah,
the other
definitely.
day, actually, it was close to Christmas. My wife, we were at her father's house with, and his wife. They're so awesome people. Shout out to them. And my wife had the hiccups, and so I was like, and I'm like, you gotta scare her, right? And we were leaving, and she kept having the hiccups, so I just turned around really quickly, and I was like, like that, and everybody jumped, and her hiccups are immediately cured, and she's like, oh my God, she's like, I love you, I'm so afraid of you, but not. I'm like, yeah, it's just, listen, I know how to
Welcome.
contain the beast within. No,
Hey, you're welcome, babe.
you're welcome.
Great,
So
but
going forward, what have you been working on? What's your, I know you
focus
had this.
Niagara River, man. Focus the water. The water. In my opinion, this was an ain't. Let's go right into it. I gotta. This will help me to coalesce my thoughts.
Yeah.
I think the founder of man. How do I preface the founder of Buffalo who made the radial street pattern is Joseph Ellicott. Okay, he was tasked by a group of Dutch investors who purchased this area, Western New York, which is everything west of the Genesee River, all the way to the Niagara River. Joseph Ellicott was a surveyor who was hired by them to survey it, get the lay of the land, and sell it off. Long story short, Joseph Ellicott is the brother of Andrew Ellicott, who designed Washington, D.C., who was the right-hand man to George Washington. So you got that connection right there. So there's some history there that's pretty deep with the founding of our country. Andrew Ellicott actually is the first person to ever survey Niagara River and the falls. Joseph Ellicott stayed in Buffalo. Andrew went to Washington and was hip and cool, and the surveyor general for all the states for Washington at the time. Joseph became the surveyor general for New York State. He founded Buffalo in 1804. Lo and behold, he did his thing, sold off the plots that he could for the Dutch company called it was called the Phelps-Gorham Purchase by these Dutch investors when they bought it. And he stayed in Buffalo, sold off plots of land, but later on in life, he got and went crazy, and he was institutionalized at Bloomfield in New York City, where he unfortunately eventually killed himself. And I just wonder, in my opinion, I think that he was seeing ruins here or seeing something that were canals, ancient canals, because I see footprints of it now. I'm seeing this stuff. I think this was to incorporate Niagara Falls, to incorporate what was going on here in Buffalo and the flow of the Niagara River. I think that they were ancient canal works, waterworks systems, and they could be I'm talking at a time back in maybe even prior to the Viking Age, 1000 AD. If you follow up on dudes like Barry Fell or Thor Heyerdahl, great name there, Norwegian explorer, investigator, they believe that there were habitation here, or at least connection to the old world, 2000 BC. Like they think that maybe the Phoenicians were here, or even the Celts. I'm seeing stuff like that. And if the Phoenicians were here, and if anybody came over here before Columbus, before the Vikings, and to get into the interior, you'd have to go through Buffalo. It's the pinch point. You got to come down the St. Lawrence Freeway into Lake Ontario. You have to portage the Niagara Falls, come down Niagara River, and get into Lake Erie right next to Buffalo. So this is an ancient significance. I think it could have been akin to something like Constantinople trade routes in ancient times. And I'm going off
Oh yeah.
the back of dudes like Barry Fell, people who are listening, who are interested in this. I highly recommend you look up dudes like Barry Fell, his work, and Thor Heyerdahl. they believe that there were trade route connections at very least from the old world to the new world. And what I'm saying is the new world, the actual old world. That's what I'm getting at. I see ancient canal works here, and I'm working on that. And what's going on with the Niagara River and Niagara Falls? Some people say that Niagara Falls, uh, because it was part of that trade route system, there could have the tunnels that were there. This is where it gets really interesting. The tunnels that are there, they say were for outflow for the dams. They could have been here before, and they could have been using those as a portage system to get people up and through and into the interior. Okay, doesn't mean it's Tartaria. It just means that we're not told what they possibly could have been. So that's kind of the long and short of it. It's a lot of work. It's a huge area to encompass, but you said it, man. You said it earlier, getting out from behind the keyboard. That's one thing that I promoted from day one. Don't just sit at a keyboard to hit next on pictures. I also have my books that I've been bestowed by family library that I use and bring to the table as well. So not only do I advocate for getting out in the field work and walking on what you research, but don't be so relegated to just the internet. I use my books. I bring my academic books that are old from my library that I'm grateful for. I use that, and I get out in the field. And again, I haven't put a video out in a while, but I'm getting that itch back. So that's kind of the long and short of what I do, where I've been, where I'm going.
Oh, that's amazing. I'll just say that you're piquing my interest. I've always loved watching your videos. I felt like I was right there with you, like going to these places, because I'm the total kind of person to be like, are we supposed to be going here? I don't know. I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, I don't, because I tell people I was a Marine. I'm like, I could talk to any cop. Like, you don't understand. Last time I talked to the police on the side of the highway, I had them all laughing. I'm like, I don't even have to show you my ID, do you? The state cops were like, not really. And I'm like, once they see you're chill and you don't have fear, anyway, so that's all. But yeah, I always felt like I was right along with you. And then like the fishing stuff too was amazing because I grew up
Yes.
fishing. So I
Nice.
really like that aspect of your channel because it's not just one thing. That's like my channel. That's why I call it Brandon Bonanza, because it's not just one thing. You know, you're out there showing all kinds of aspects to your life. People could see you're a real dude. So I feel like it's good because then he could trust you. Other people, we don't know who the hell they are. We don't, and I'm not saying you should show your family and everything out there. That's not what I mean, people, but it's cool to have other stuff on there. You see you're a real person. Like I've had videos on my channel from like 2014 because when I was in comedy, we used to just do like Joe Rogan style things, you know? So like you could go back and see my progression. I'm like a real dude. And that's what I like about you too, Dustin. And I'm
Thank
only
you.
excited for what you have to talk about because I'll share a little of my views, which are even probably way more out there. So that'll be good, you know?
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
No, I think you base everything on logic and intuition. Just basically, it's like you can't explain to people, but you're like, listen, I just and took all this information, then I went to the areas, and these patterns just came to me. What am I going to do? And
How do you say to somebody, I feel it? You know what I mean? I feel like I'm carrying on the footsteps of what Joseph Ellicott was doing. Even in my job, I'm driving down south in the work truck, and these roads that I never heard of, and they're on straight lines, and I could see the lake, and I'm like, Joseph Ellicott was doing this 100 years ago, man. I kind of feel that essence of it, and that could be whimsical and you're crazy, but hey, man, that's what I'm feeling, and
guess
that's how.
what? You're not a victim. You got positive self-talk going
Right.
on. You're having a great time today, while everyone else is like, meh, I can't believe people are still talking about Epstein. I don't want. Let's not get into it, but I'm like, still, wasn't this like 9 years ago or whatever?
Dude, there's
Anyway,
something to Trump saying that, man. For real. There is something to Trump because I could see him being like, and this is like way out of left field from what we were just talking about, but they're running specs on everybody's internet searches. And if he's told like 75% of the like males that are military age are looking up porn, he'll put, I'm thinking, I don't know who I was saying this to, but I wonder if it's like, why you guys keep on pushing this issue? Your search histories are could be pretty illicit or whatever. And
dude, does
there's
Trump watch Owen?
dude, I'm there's something to that. You know what I mean? You could
Because
just be picking up on shit though. You know what I mean? With what
yeah,
we're
no, I
literally
know,
just
I know.
talking about it, you could just be pulling the shit out of the Akashic record.
Yeah, you know, you're
At this
right.
point,
And
bro, who knows, man? For real.
it's funny you say that about porn because that's the exact thing because
You know they're
it
running
goes
specs
all
on
back
it.
to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
It
oh, we
runs
want to
all
see. It's
back.
like we want to see everybody who was on that. And it's like, first of all, wait, you want them to show the fucking CP that was going on? Number one, take it easy. No one wants to see that, but people are demanding it now. And again, with the mirror, how much of your search history is looking up Pornhub, literally. And if I was in his position, it's not to say that I'm blowing it off or I'm like advocating for him or I agree with him, like turning a blind eye to it. I think I know where he's coming from though. When maybe 50% of a region or area, it's all they do is look up porn. I don't, you know what I mean? We got other, not to take away from anything that happened to those girls at all. I think you see where I'm getting, what I'm
Yeah, I
getting at here.
it's good bread and circuses too, man. You know, like it just
Bread
gets
and circus,
people.
give him bread and circuses.
And
Yes.
like I say, and I think I got it from Owen, and you know, I'll say this too. I haven't been because I've been such a hermit lately, and I don't even watch Owen, and it has nothing. It's funny because he would say this all the time. He's like, if you're gonna go away, just go, don't say anything, right? You know? Which I was like, I didn't make any announcements, but it's not because of anything. It's because I don't even watch anything. This is what I do.
Yeah.
I spend and work, you know, and I'm not explaining to you, but I'm just telling you probably get this, but I work stuff with my family, repairing the stuff with my wife and my marriage and all that stuff. But then in my free time, I listen to like Dune audiobooks and Wheel of Time audiobooks and then just draw, create art and do this stuff. But I have made so many great connections through the bear community. And I still talk, shout
Cool.
out to QSB, Quiet Sparky Bear, shout out to Ukrainian, you know, like all these guys are great because I feel like in this area, the people who are bears are fucking chill, like in the Northeast. Sometimes everyone, you know, in other places, and again, I think people just made it their identity. But we're here, we already have our identities. We're
For
just like, yeah,
sure.
we were always a bear or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's just who I am, you know. So anyway, yeah. So I think it's crazy now to see all this stuff happen, though, especially because I was watching him talk about that stuff. But I feel like I just
Nuts.
been unplugged from everything. Like I really don't even know what's going on with the Epstein thing. Like I said that just because my friend sent a meme about something, and I'm like, still with this. I'm
I
like,
know
let the
it's
guy die.
I get it. I get it. But it's like there's a point where it's like you know, first of all, you're not going to do anything about it at all. You're literally just hoping other people do it, the apparatus of control, right? That you're or actually we're before pointing at saying they're all fucking
You want them
Illuminati
to go get them,
Masons.
don't you?
Yeah, they will
Okay.
go take care. I want them to go take care of it. Meanwhile, on Pornhub.com, come on, come on. There's a hypocritical side to it too. I'm not advocating for that. I call them Canaanites. Okay, you know where I stand with how those people operate. The others, we'll call them. Okay, we are not on the
They
same
know
side.
not what
We're
they do.
yeah,
That's
right,
all.
like
They're
straight up,
lost.
and biblically speaking, our battle is not of the flesh, even though I can
Yeah.
get quite aggravated, and I have had battles of the flesh myself growing up. But like you said, if you acted a fool back in the day, someone was going to call you out on it in your face, possibly even knock you for it, or you got to stand up and do it and
I see a dude
back up
almost get
yourself.
killed with one punch.
Oh my goodness, you could that's another thing too, man. You
I
knock
saw he was a
somebody out,
little
they hit
guy.
their head.
This other guy was just drunk and a big dude. He just hit him. And the dude had to get like reconstructive surgery. It's like, yeah, anyway, but that's what another
Right.
thing I
Yeah,
say
right.
about like making it dark about like road rage and stuff too. And I'm working into a bit, but it's like, or internet rage. It's the same thing. You don't know who's on the other side. Like when people are tailgating, and I'm like, God, you don't
Oh,
understand it because I live now in Canton, Connecticut, which is like, oh, you know, it's the woods and it's nice. But I'm from Milford, which isn't too bad, but it's between New Haven, Connecticut, and Bridgeport, Connecticut. So you can't fuck around. We were down, I was down. This is a funny story to lighten things up. I was down in Milford because we got married there. We had Airbnb, and I was driving around, and there was somebody like tailgating me, so I just slammed on the brakes a little, and
ooh,
they got up real close, and I realized they were like two bike thieves. And I didn't, and I have a permit and all this stuff, but I don't need that. So I didn't have anything with me, I was like, and I'm driving around, I was like, oh, here we go. But it was at night, and I drove toward the area where I used to DJ, and I knew because at the time the clubs were getting out, and there'd be a cop car there, and there was. So I drove right up to the cop car because these guys were following us. I'm like, really, dude?
started following you too after that, huh?
Yeah, they started following me, and
Okay.
again, I wasn't like I was scared. I would get out, even if they shot me, I'd still probably kill one of them. I'm like, oh, I was a Marine, dude. Like, I have a bit I'm working on too, where I'm like, they put me in a place for 3 months, guys. They taught me this word over and over again. Every time they gave me a command, they'd say, put your left sock on now, and I'd have to say this word, and they'd count down and all this stuff. For 3 months, they shaved my head. I have this bit I go into, and I'm like, you want to know what that word was, guys? It was kill, kill, kill. I'm like, so you really want to be tailgating me? I got a good handle on it, but dude, I'm telling you, you don't know who you're behind.
That's so
They don't tell you how to turn it off. They're just like, good luck when you leave. You know what I mean?
that's funny. Yo, I know what you're talking about. One of my home real good friends that I became friends with past year working, um, 22-year veteran, master sergeant, man, Marine. So
Oh
hoorah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, if you see him, tell him I said Semper Fi,
Yeah, for
Master
sure.
Guns.
Oh man, he's good.
That's what we
Such a
call him,
good man. Juan, my man, for
Master
sure.
Guns. Yeah, that's cool, dude.
Juan, yeah, shout out if you're listening, brother. My man. But yeah, dude. That
That's
was
cool,
some
man. Go ahead, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say been ladling some gravy.
Yeah. To finish that story real quick though, just so I pulled up in
Oh
the
yeah,
cop
yeah.
car was empty, but they couldn't tell.
No.
No, but they so
What
I
a
pulled
fucking irony.
it was hilarious. So what happens is we were going straight, and basically the cop was to block that light, so you'd have to go right because there's club and like a bar over there. So I pulled up. There's no, and he's behind me, so the car automatically just pulls over. So I sat there for a few minutes. They didn't get out or do anything, so I just drove away, and they stayed there. So I think that they think there was a cop in there, and I told them what happened. So they think they were getting pulled over. So they probably sat there for a good 10, 20 minutes before they realized there was no
So
one.
he got over on pretty good.
Yeah, I think I got over on pretty
You
good. So
gave him
I
a
was
little
like,
stutter step
yeah,
type of
exactly.
deal.
Yeah.
That's great.
So anyway, it was, but so the whole thing is though, because I'm from, we live in Canton now, so it's different here. People just don't, they'll tailgate right on you. We were parked at the spot near the river where it's a place people put kayaks in, and it was like it's like you drive down this dirt thing, and there's weeds on each side, so it's like secluded under a bridge. So this guy walked up on us there, and he's just like, hey, he's like talking to us, and I'm like, dude, I'm like, you can't just walk up on a car. I'm like, you could get stabbed. I'm, what are you doing? I think he might have been like autistic or something, He's like,
Uh,
but he just like walked up. He's like, oh, I thought I smelled something. I'm like, dude, what?
yeah, that's pretty
I'm
bold.
like, you're gonna get beat. Like, what? Anyway, so yeah,
Yeah.
it's a different. I like it out here though. It's nice because people are they'll give you space, especially when you look like me. They're like, all right, this guy. No.
There's definitely a thing to the Northeast attitude. The whole like, especially New York, it's exemplified Boston, Chicago. Like, what do you want? What are you selling? The fuck out of my way now. Yada yada. There's something to that. I'm not sure what it is. Out west it's a little bit more chill, man. Even down
Yeah.
south, there's a slower. I was talking about it with Moon Jazzberry. He thinks it has something to do with the rock and fucking the Appalachian Mountains, which makes sense. It's more of a slower vibrating rock, and it's down there where everyone's like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, yeah, there could be something to that, but
But they're so smart in their own, like in a different way.
it's
You know what I mean?
exactly. I was saying advocating for it. I'm like, yeah, because
Yeah.
we're go up here. You can miss shit. So there are positives and negatives to each. I'm not saying that being the rah rah New York State, like, what do you want? What are you selling? Get out of my way type of thing is always a good thing because you go down south, you notice a little bit more of a slower pace, right? But I'm not saying it's a bad thing. And like I
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
to
yeah,
to
totally.
flip it around, having that rah rah go, you can miss stuff. So, but there's something to it.
Well, great conversation, Dustin. I always love talking to you, and I feel like it's important for people like us to build each other up. We like our content and stuff, so why not get on here and just tell you what a great job you're doing, because even if you haven't done stuff in a while, it's only going to make this stuff coming out better. So anyone who listens
Cool.
and watches this, if you're not already subscribed, the links are down below. Get subscribed. You could say the things though too if you want. Go ahead, where people can find you.
Oh, Berserking History in Buffalo on YouTube, and it's the same at Berserking History on Instagram. I post there a lot for just like day to day stuff that I see in the on the screens, whatever. Family stuff here and there. What I do with the Bears, hosting, hanging with Bears, but mostly for research related material. Which again, what, getting that positive feedback, I appreciate it, and for having me on, it kind of gives me a kick in the ass to get out there and do the presenting side of it a little bit more. But Berserking History in Buffalo, if you like history, you want to see outside the bookends of academia from a different angle. I have my faith, but I'm not at all trying to be combative to the mainstream, but just maybe if they can offer us a little bit of a level playing field is where I'm coming from. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
Berserking History for you. And thanks again, Brandon, for having me on. It was a really good conversation,
Yeah,
as always.
anytime. Yeah, and when you get your show going, if you ever want to have me on to do like a whatever, let me know. I can always be a fun side to something to help you get going or whatever. Let me know. So
100%, it's already a foregone conclusion. Done.
yeah, that would be amazing, especially if not that idea. I usually just delete trolls. If some people came in with questions, I could just to go. You just must be insecure. It's fine. But I like to make things fun too and make
uh,
people laugh. So
I'm
it's
down with it, man. Yeah, let's do it.
that's actually what they said to me in the Marines when I was going to get out. They're like, "Well, you should stay in because you keep you lift everyone's spirits. This master sergeant was telling me, he's like, everyone's so, they think you're so cool. And I'm like, oh, because he's like, you should stay in. And I'm like, we need people like you. That's what he said. And I'm like, what, aircraft mechanics? Good ones? He's like, no, no, no. He's like, you're a shooting mechanic, but I was okay. He's like, but you just lift spirits. And I'm like, I said to him, like, I appreciate that, but I'm like, I could probably go somewhere else and get a better gig doing that,
That's a good
Right.
compliment, though, man. That's a good compliment
But
to have given to
I
you.
do want to. It's funny though. We could close on this too because what I plan on going in the future and what I've been calling to do is to kind of become like a chaplain. Because so the Marine Corps doesn't have their own chaplains, and I wouldn't like go join the military, but I mean just going to VA hospitals and talking to vets. But it would be kind of a funny kick because like just like the Marine Corps doesn't have doctors because they're a part of the Navy, so they have Navy doctors and
Right.
Navy corpsmen and Navy chaplains. So I would be like, I'm the Marine Corps chaplain because not only do I have an extensive knowledge about Christianity, but pretty much every other belief system, and I'm just a chill dude to talk to, especially about death. Like I could talk to people who are dying, and I'm not going to get freaked out about it. Like I don't know what it is about me. Maybe it's just a gift that I have, So going
For
forward, if
sure.
anyone hears this and they're interested, hit me up about stuff like that. I'd always love to talk to people. Anyway, especially if you're a veteran and you're having problems with stuff or whatever. Just have a fun conversation with me, man. I could, listen to this chill conversation. You could see from there, I could give you some ideas or things to do because I really feel like they don't give you the tools and resources that maybe they do now at the VA. It's probably a little better, but
Good for you, man. That's a good endeavor. That'd be. I wish you the best on that one.
thank you,
That's
thank
sweet.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. That's very cool.
yeah. I feel
And
like
you could derive some good comedic bits from that too. The chaplain for the military. I mean, it's like that's a gold mine,
yeah,
right?
every other Marine's a killer. But the funny thing is, even when I was in the Marines, I worked on ejection seats, which is like technically one of the only jobs that really saves lives in the Marines. Because every other job, unless you're like a chef or something, everyone's
True.
about, supporting killing people, And I was like, I worked on ejection seats, so I didn't see
Good
it at the
point.
time. But looking back now, I couldn't even get the Marines right. No, it's like a joke. Like
All things for a
everything.
reason, man.
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, I again, thanks for coming, and I had a great, a mind-opening, mind-bending chat as we always do. And morelaws, moreproblems.com is my website, everybody. The link's down there. Check it out. I wrote a book. The link's down there too. Check that out and look for more stuff coming from me. And if you're a fan of Dune, comment under here because I'm trying to get some stuff together. I think I'm gonna be reading the first book and giving commentary in trying to catch people up because when you start reading it, you're just like they just throw you in there and you're like, what the hell is going on? So since I've researched it so much, that's my research, Dune. I could share it with the
It sounds
masses,
like
but
you like,
anyway.
dude. You got some knowledge on the Lord of the Rings verse too, man. Citing the Silmarillion.
Oh yeah, I got to see it started with the Lord of the Rings,
Yeah,
and then
man.
and then I went to the Hobbit, and then the Silmarillion, and then all this stuff, and several times listened to them while I'm doing other stuff like art, and then Dune, but then Wheel of Time. I don't know if anyone's interested in this, but Wheel of Time, it's a huge commitment, and if you have a family or something, it's probably, but there's like 13 books, so it's crazy. But I was able to just listen here and there and whatever, and the character development in that is like nuts, but you don't have to go that far. Dune is the really one I want to focus on because it really, I don't know, it just highlights religion and government and culture so well, but then also working on yourself because there's this one character, spoiler alert, Duncan, Idaho. They find a way to keep bringing him back, and they bring him back, and they bring him back and back and back. Anyway, so and there's one character that lives for like 15, no, 2,500 years. He merges with a sandworm. So his view on here, like he just talks to me. He can't even have a conversation. He's just like over everything because he already knows it's so crazy.
That's
Anyway,
funny. That's funny.
yeah, but the commentary on civilization from that is just like whoa. But yeah, it's okay, whatever. I could give it or leave it or take it now. I don't want to
Doom,
get too attached. But
Doom gravy. Dig
yeah,
it
anyway, that was great chatting with you though, and look forward to doing more stuff in the future.
for
And I
sure.
think I said my website, and yeah, that's it. All right, everybody. Well, let me get the great theme song ready to play on the way out, and we'll see you guys next time. I'm going to be doing something this Thursday night. I'll put the links out. I'm not sure if it's going to be on my channel, everybody, but a friend of mine invited me to his channel, so just look for that. And here we are. Oh, share sound. Yep. Okay. Yes. So when you use Zoom, it's always not as smooth, but gets the job done. Ah, there we go. Is it gonna play? Play. There we go. No.
presenting. It's a whole nother beast.
Yeah, it's fun. There we
God
go.
bless
All
you.
right, guys. See you later.
Thanks, Brandon.
Bonanza, we're hanging out. It's the Brandon Bonanza Show. Bonanza, we're hanging out on the Brandon Bonanza Show. Hanging out on the Brandon Bonanza Show.
Yeah, tell 'em quick. All right, guys. See you later.
Yeah.
All right, we're done.
Peace
Awesome.
out. God bless.
All right. Thanks,
was
dude.
great.
That was awesome. Good chat. I love it.